Welcome to In Our Issues, a podcast where we learn what it's like being in the shoes of people with mental health issues. My name is Nathan Donnelly, and on today's episode, my co-hosts and I discuss what it's like living with low self-esteem and how our mental health issues can exacerbate the experience. We also bridge into some helpful tips on managing low self-esteem issues, and some chaos ensues as well. No cap, I was dying laughing editing this. My co-hosts and I are not licensed therapists, but we are trained peer recovery supporters. And I might add that my two co-hosts are two of the most brilliant people I've ever met. I think they're pretty cool. I'm very excited, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Without further ado, here is the IOI crew. Hey y'all, welcome to In Our Issues. I'm your host, Nathan Donnelly. These are my co-hosts. I'm Amanda.
Stoddard, what's up?
And Bill Brown.
Hi. And
today, we're going to talk about self-esteem and how it's affected by trauma and mental illness. I'm actually pretty excited. Since this is our first episode, the first thing we're going to do is introduce each other. We're not introducing ourselves. We're going to introduce each other. And then we'll add anything that we feel like the other person has missed to that midst. Make sense?
Sure.
How long do we have?
How long do we have?
Mm-hmm. Like, is it?
Let's. I'm
do an elevator speech, like an elevator pitch.
Okay.
Who's gonna start? Go start. You can.
It's alphabetical order.
Oh, so I have to start.
Alphabetical order. Let's talk about Amanda.
Oh, okay.
When I first met her, my first impression was this is a fast-talking, brilliant young woman.
I do talk fast. The brilliant part, I don't know about.
I disagree, but Bill.
I mean, we are talking about self-esteem today, so
we have to see. This is you're on it. I'm leading into that. All right, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead, Bill.
Amanda's a rock star. That's just how it is.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I honestly feel that like if I'm feeling down and out and I need an explanation for something mental illness related, she's the first person I would go to.
Facts.
100%.
Well, Amanda.
All right.
And my birthday's tomorrow. Which won't be tomorrow when this posts, but
oh yeah,
it's tomorrow today.
All right.
Happy birthday
to our co-host.
Sorry, I missed it.
And happy late to those of you who are watching.
Absolutely. Oh. And if it's your birthday today, happy freaking birthday to you.
Facts.
I melted my chocolate in my hand.
Oh, we're going to have to start the whole thing over now. No? Okay.
Okay, now we get to talk about Bill.
All right, Bill.
Bill is the Director of Community Engagement at the Recovery Center of Hamilton County.
Oh, we're talking about that stuff too?
I mean, I thought it'd be important to add it in there.
Well, Amanda is in her third year at the astronaut training program with NASA.
I thought it was her fourth, actually.
Maybe.
Which one is it?
3.5.
Amanda is the Director of Communications at the aforementioned Recovery Center of Hamilton County.
That's the real one right there.
There we go. And Bill is a very funny individual who has a way of lifting your spirits and being a problem solver and a great listener.
Facts.
What?
Yeah. When I first met him, I'm like, here's this guy who's probably, I guessed, like 50 years old that I talked about Avatar: The Last Airbender with, which is like, freaking, it was just, I that's like one of the first conversations we had. And I'm just like, yeah, this guy's pretty cool. I like this guy a lot.
It was actually Bill who got me the job at the Recovery Center. So that's
not got you the
really
job,
cool.
Invented the job.
Yeah.
And then got it for you.
Yeah, which is cool. Which is really cool.
Facts though, you are a ton of fun to be around. You have nonstop jokes. Sometimes I can never tell when you're going to be serious or not. You're a wild card.
Yeah, sarcasm game on 100. That's for sure.
Yeah. So like you said with the astronaut program thing, that is a regular occurrence.
What I tell people is if it sounds like it's just too crazy to be true, it's not true. Yeah. So.
But yeah, this is Bill right here, and he what was the joke we said? He's a 20-year-old, 50-year-old. What was it? You're eternally 28 years old.
Yeah, he's a 28-year-old stuck in a however old you are body.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't want to.
Tons of energy. This guy. All right, what about me?
Nathan, Well, you're Amanda. You go first.
No, you can go.
Hey, okay.
You started.
I met Nathan 4 years ago. Nathan came into my office and we talked for 3 hours almost. And I loved him from the minute I met him.
That's nice.
I just did.
I love you. I love you too, dude. You're awesome.
So we created a position for Nathan too.
That's facts.
And that's why we're all here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What did you just say?
We created the position for Nathan too.
Oh yeah, no, he really did. He created these positions for us. And honestly, dude, I was so down and out, and I didn't really have a direction with my life that like suddenly I felt like I could create again and have a purpose. And this guy is like he's good at creating opportunities for people. He really is.
He's a kid.
That is what I do. I usually do it without chocolate all over me.
Well, it's not always true. Yeah, Nathan's great. He's extremely intelligent. And when I met him, I was like, oh, wow, there's a person here that talks almost as fast as I do. I can't even believe it. Yeah, but he is my brother in struggle, I like to say. And really smart person, catches onto things really, really, really quickly. Yeah, just a really all around cool dude whom I appreciate.
Thanks, guys.
Of course.
Heart is warming like a furnace of love. You guys are awesome. Just saying. Now, what's funny is real quick before we're about to jump into the main content, but I wanted to say real quick, now that we've introduced each other, do you feel like if you introduced yourself, this would have gone a little differently?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would have taken like 15 minutes.
I know. Same. I would have written a book.
Dude, the same. It's like, where do I even start? Like, literally. You know, but like, but it was just so fun and relaxing to do it for each other.
Yeah, I think that's cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it also puts them into perspective, like the value you have in people's lives / the value other people have in your lives.
And that's what I was getting to, was the fact that your self-esteem may cause you to be critical of yourself in some ways that other people are not. And then they'll suddenly say something that, you know, you realize is true about you to some degree, and then you can reaffirm yourself in a positive way from someone else's, you know, like loving description. So I just sometimes when you're stuck in your head, it can be kind of and you're struggling with self-esteem, it can be kind of negative. But like having a homie who can lift you up like that is important, guys.
Agreed. So
basically, the next thing on the agenda is the general idea is treat people with the dignity and respect. Treat yourself with the dignity and respect that your peers show you. Try to do that. You know what I mean? Like, think of yourself as a peer. It's like, you wouldn't want to be rude or mean to that person, right? Well,
depends on what they did to me.
Well, here's okay. When I say peer, I mean a positive influencing person, someone you care about and respect. It's like, that's what you want to do, is you want to think of yourself as that, you know, and it can help if you externalize your self-worth, I guess, if that makes sense.
You know, so it would basically be like putting yourself in another person's shoes.
Yeah, that's a great transition. In our issues. Absolutely. So
I'm embarrassed for both of you.
We're jumping right into it.
Hey,
Check the link in the description for the PDFs for all the relevant documents that are going to be relevant to this episode. And so without further ado, let's sit down with the crew and learn a thing or two about what it's like to be in our issues.
Woohoo!
So
we deep in them. We swimming around in them issues.
First, I want to ask you guys a question. My co-hosts.
Go ahead.
Let me introduce this. Let me articulate something real quick to see if you guys agree. Many neurotypical people struggle with self-esteem, but neurodivergent people tend to do so chronically. And it's important that people who are neurotypical understand that it's going to be a little bit harder than just picking themselves up like someone who is neurotypical might be able to do.
Well, why don't you define for the group what neurotypical and neurodivergent is?
All right. So
for those who may not know.
Actually, yeah. Actually, I feel like you'd be pretty good at that, Amanda.
Well, neurotypical versus neurodivergence is really interesting, and it kind of depends. There's a lot of schools of thought on this, but basically, neurodivergent is somebody who doesn't function similarly to the regular population. And has some sort of thing developmentally that they're struggling with, whether that be mental illness, autism spectrum disorder, ADHD, things like that. Those individuals would be, myself included, struggling with CPTSD, would be considered neurodivergent because we don't operate the same as the majority of the population.
Word. I also,
That's my best understanding of the definition. Definitely double check and look it up for yourself, because I don't know if I'm 100% accurate.
Yeah, we are peers here who we all have at least some training as peer recovery supporters, and we're not licensed therapists, but we want to reach out to you guys peer to peer to get a conversation going about how we as people, as peers, can help ourselves and each other.
Yeah, we are certified peer recovery supporters.
100%. So
through the state of Ohio.
Yes, exactly.
Not nationwide, unfortunately.
I was going to add to that and say, me, as I'm diagnosed ADHD and more recently bipolar, I think it's 2, and now they're questioning if I have some form of autism as well.
Interesting.
So I'm a bit of a mixed bag. I don't really try to frame myself specifically around any particular illness, but I will say this, that when it comes to ADHD, and Bill will probably be able to agree with me here, I do struggle with organization and keeping things maintained consistently. Consistency is kind of a struggle for me. Give me a couple weeks and I'll find a way to make my entire desk a giant pile of clutter. And then I have to figure out how to navigate around that. And then it hampers my productivity. And because my brain jumps between concepts extraordinarily quickly, I'll be working on something. And then I'm like, oh, I have this great idea for this other thing I'm working on. I'll go do that. And then I'll forget what I was doing in the first place. And then, oh my God, it's been hours and I still haven't gotten anything done. Would you look at that?
Yeah. I think that's a great example of how neurodivergence works versus neurotypicality, I guess, if that's the word I can use. I don't know if that's even a factual word, but
neurotypicality, the word is a reality.
Normally people, I guess generally you see in the world, people want you to think that individuals can just do things. There are people out there that can just do things. I have this to-do list and I'm going to check them off one by one in order and get it done and just stick to my guns and do it. I'm somebody that can do that. Do I get a little bit distracted along the way? Yeah. Here and there I'll get distracted. And, if my attention is taken away from the topic, it takes me a long time to get back to it. And I do procrastinate a lot, but not as strongly as what you're describing. I don't deal with that as much as you do. However, if I have stuff I have to do during the day, I will find a way to get it all done. And I think that, it's interesting when you look at self-esteem as a part of this, because of the fact that society in general, the way that it is built around that idea that everybody is neurotypical. Everybody can start a task and finish a task and not get distracted and start 15 million other tasks while they're doing one task,
There's a standard for human behavior that is kind of inferred to be met.
That we're indoctrinated to follow from the time that we're kids, because that's how our school system is set up and how everything in society, 9-to-5 jobs, office settings, those are all set up for people who operate at a neurotypical level. And when you're neurodivergent, those things become extremely hard. And then we beat ourselves up because those things become extremely hard. And we suffer from this from youth until, adulthood. And it just tears us down and wears us out, which is why there's, burnout that you experience.
You never feel like you're good enough because you can't meet the standards that are unrealistic for you that society wants you to meet. Like,
and I think it's really interesting too from Bill's perspective, because if you want to talk a little bit about that, because your experience came later in life.
Well, here's the only thing I disagree with on Nathan's statement, which was, oh my God, hours have passed.
Yeah.
I'm going to change that word to months.
Months?
Am I wrong?
No, you are not wrong. I agree with you.
I'm asking you.
No, I don't think that you're wrong.
No, I mean, shit disappears. It's a black hole.
Yeah. You just out of sight, out of mind. Like sometimes it's that intense. It's just poof. Like, and then you dig it up months later, like, oh my God, I forgot I was working on this. Like,
yeah.
Entirely.
And that's something I have personally no frame of reference for, because I am, by being, a perfectionist and kind of like a chronic people pleaser due to my trauma, and due to that's how I get my self-esteem is from solving people's problems and finishing tasks and doing things on time and being an overachiever.
I see. I'm not disagreeing with you, but if you didn't have trauma, you may have the very same skills. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm just saying.
Potentially, yeah. But I'm saying that
close to your mic, homie.
Yeah.
I mean, potentially, I think so. But also, oftentimes, people who are perfectionists and overachievers do so because there's some sort of external pressure.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Or
100%.
and when we talk about trauma, I think it's important to put into perspective. There's big T trauma and little T trauma, right? Big T trauma is like extremely traumatic events. Little T trauma is stuff like, maybe you went through a breakup or, something smaller, which, going through a breakup could be a big T trauma to you. It really, it really just depends on the nature of how it affects your nervous system. So I think that's important to put into perspective. Do you want to learn more? Do your research, because I think it's important. Yeah,
definitely. Research is important. And decide what you believe and find the stuff that's backed up. It's important to learn. Just be a lifelong learner. And that's the thing, is if you feel stagnated, like you're trapped and you don't know what to do, it's honestly finding a way to learn a little bit more about your condition. If you identify with or diagnosed with a mental illness, learning about it can be very liberating.
Yeah, I think too it can be. There's a pro and a con to that as well, because you can be like me and fall down the rabbit hole and research it way too much and know too much about the experience that you're experiencing. I think there is
definitely
in my personal experience, I am overly self-aware, which can tend to be a problem. But I do think that it's really important because trauma is such a topic of discussion in society nowadays, and sometimes it is a little bit, I don't want to say quote unquote overused, but in a way, I think people discount, because it is so talked about, people discount extremely traumatic things because of the fact that it is so normalized now. Does that make sense?
I think it makes sense, but I don't think I agree.
Yeah, how so?
I think I'd love people to throw the word trauma around a lot, because if it's in the conversation.
Yeah, and that I agree with, but I think that there's times on social media where you'll see something and somebody
I don't do social media.
Right. So it's primarily on social media too, where people something very small happens to them. Let's just say they stub their toe and they're like, oh my gosh, so much trauma, and it's thrown around kind of like a joking kind of term, which I understand everybody jokes about everything, but I think it's really important to put into perspective that there is different, ladders of trauma, if you will, and there is big T and there is small T traumas, and those things are important to put into perspective, and people really, really do deal with them, and it really impacts the trajectory of their life.
Everybody, I think everybody's experienced trauma to some.
Yeah, and that's why it's really good to differentiate between big T and little T, because everybody's gone through, some type of trauma.
In other words, use the word trauma when there's some big D drama. Little D, big D. It could be both. Just like trauma.
It's like my name. It could be with a little B or a big B. If it's a little
Big B. I love Big B coffee.
Big B. Yeah, that's the spot.
Okay, we're derailing.
No, we're good. We're good. That's actually a good. Since we kind of parked the conversation, I can actually continue here, because I'm glad we that created such a great conversation for us, because I wanted to get a little bit more detailed next and ask both of you. Well, I'll start with Bill. Do you think your experience with mental illness impacted your self-esteem? And how?
I don't know. I mean, maybe, probably.
I think it did, knowing your story.
Yeah.
But I don't want to speak for you.
But it was appropriate.
Yeah.
I mean, I had shitty self-esteem where it was appropriate. I wasn't thinking I was worthless. But I had to find my worth again.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have it for a while. And that was traumatic. It was ugly. But I knew I needed some worth. So yeah, I guess it did. Yeah. I mean, but yeah, everybody,
Well, I think specifically, like, I don't want to
go ahead.
tell your story for you out of turn, but I think specifically for the male population, their careers are huge facets of their self-esteem.
Oh shit, yeah.
It's like a huge part of who they are as a person.
That's your identity.
Through gender identity, through that lens, that's a very fascinating topic to think about.
Yeah, and I think that, when...
I think I misunderstood the question.
No, you...
Well, I
Did
think
you ask,
identity and
has my
self-esteem...
illness affected my self-esteem?
Yeah.
Okay, I misanswered then. Yeah. I wasn't thinking about it the right way. Fuck yeah, because what you said. I didn't date for 10 years because the first question people ask you when they meet, well, I don't know, probably you is, what do you do? Mine is, how'd you get so sexy? But then what do you do?
Wow, the truth bomb.
And
my God.
My answer for 10 years was I talk to people that aren't there. I stay up all night. And I have a case manager that calls and tells me to take a shower every once in a while. That's what I do. What do you do? Hello, where are you?
Hello, where'd you go?
Hello?
Yeah. So,
Hello, this mic is blocking my face.
Yeah, it was hard. That was a tough one.
Yeah.
Yep.
I see it's...
And I think that pressure to, like, being a male and having to, set that standard of being the provider, I think is really impactful on self-esteem in general. And I think, in men's mental health as well, that
your self-worth
doesn't necessarily get talked about as much as, it should, because I think that, across the board, mental health is important.
Oh, hell yeah.
Regardless
Absolutely.
of
I kind of understand what you're saying, but I'm sure women go through...
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We're not saying one doesn't and one does. We're saying both of them have, like...
Same shit, different toilet.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So because it's again a product of society saying, like, this is how things are, and then us adjusting to that based on the way we actually are and feeling inadequate because we're not a certain way.
Yeah. And I mean? That happens across the board for sure.
Whether we are, feeling pressured to be a provider or feeling pressured to be a caregiver or whatever it is.
Feeling pressured to have babies.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's a big one.
That's for sure. Like women in their 20s and 30s that just want to not have babies.
And people that harass them because they don't.
Yeah. Like.
Yeah, that would be annoying.
I think that, in a lot of ways, trauma can also affect self-esteem. Do you think you have experience with that as well, Bill?
I guess. Yeah, because I got the last one wrong. I think I do. Probably.
Yeah, probably. From your experience.
I don't really identify with a lot of trauma. Have I ever talked to you about trauma?
I think that your mental health journey and experience was a trauma in and of itself.
It was.
Because that was a huge life-altering, changing event for you. And I think, like you said, everybody's got a little bit of trauma. Everybody's got a little bit of spice in their lives. It just depends on the intensity.
All right. If you have, would you like me to, is it okay if I move over to Amanda now? If you have something, if you come up with something,
I'll think of
feel free to share.
Think of 6.
So Amanda,
What's up?
So basically, same question. Do you think that your experience with mental illness impacted your self-esteem and why? And then also bridge into, do you think trauma did it?
Okay, thank you.
Well, I think that my story doesn't exist without both.
I hear you. Yeah, that's
because
why
there was no like before and after for me. It's always just been trauma and mental illness in my life. And I think it did really impact my self-esteem. I think more so the trauma did, because, from the time that I was a kid, I was really impacted by not having a voice, not having control, not being seen, not feeling heard. And I think those things, really impacted my self-esteem and led me, like I said earlier, to be like an overachiever, perfectionist, people pleaser. Because my needs weren't met as a kid, because of that trauma of being, emotionally neglected was like huge for me.
Me
and
too.
I think that, my struggles with mental health symptomatically really impacted my self-esteem, especially in adolescence and in school, because I was expected to perform and expected to show up and get good grades and do all these assignments when I was literally like living through a ton of stuff that a kid shouldn't have to live through. And nobody was asking the questions of like, how can we help you? Instead I was just expected to continue to, operate like everybody else, when that's not where I was at. Like, because I've been dealing with stuff since I've been a kid. And so being in those spaces and being, struggling with my mental health, being depressed, having anxiety as a child, like all of that stuff really impacted the way that I felt people saw me, the way that I was performing in school, and the way that I like showed up for myself.
Hell yeah.
I like the way you said the way I felt people saw me.
I like when you said showed up for myself.
Because that may not be how they saw you at all.
Yeah, exactly. No. I had this very warped perception of other people that, made sense at the time, but like I really felt like everybody was out to get me.
Yeah.
And that, I was everybody's enemy for some reason.
Because when you grow up in a household where your needs aren't met and you feel like you have to suppress those and you feel like no one's going to bat for you, then you just start to assume that everyone's going to do that.
Well, I feel like too, like in that experience that I had when I would show emotions or when I would, express myself, it would be met with, annoyance or disdain or what have you. And so I learned very quickly in my life that my needs didn't matter, and that when I had needs or when I was emotional or when I was sick or like anything like that, I was, in my brain, I was a burden. Right? Like that's how I had felt most of my life. And I had felt like an outcast and I'd felt invisible. And all of those things traveled with me, into adulthood. And they're things that even after a decade of therapy, I still struggle with a lot. And they're a lot of the reasons why I've become like the person that I am, and, always wanting more for myself and trying super hard and like having a million things on my lap and stressing myself out, is because like the only way I've found to prove my worth is through my career.
How are you feeling about that?
And like
very interesting.
So your self-esteem kind of depended on your career success.
I think that it shifted from my self-esteem derived from how much can I help other people? And that was from the jump, because I realized very early on that when I was helpful, to my caregivers or to the people around me, that's when I got the most attention, right? When I was sick or when I was helpful. And so those were the two things that I tried to be all of the time.
I see.
And that transitioned over into my career and my job. And that's why I'm in, community mental health.
There you go.
And, my job is literally helping people, because that's how I developed my self-esteem. Now here I sit at 28 analyzing, is this something that I want to, build my self-esteem around? Is this how I want to get my self-worth? Or is there some other way that I can, help lift myself up?
You know why I think, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
You know why
Yes,
I think
thank you.
I messed that question up? Because I'm in a totally different place than I was.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a wreck, but I don't really give a fuck what anybody thinks about me anymore. I don't. I do the best I
Respect.
can.
Yeah, I think that's kind of my issue, is like that flipped for me. Like middle school, high school, I was going through such a depressive time in my life, and like I was in pain all the time and like just really going through it with my chronic illness, that like I really at that point was so depressed and so like close to the edge of my life that I didn't care. I didn't care about other people. I didn't care what other people thought about me. I was mean. I stood up for myself. And then when I finally got that, and I think this is a really interesting thing to put into perspective that I really just kind of realized now, is that when I finally realized life was worth living, when I finally realized I'm not going out, like I need to focus on my future. I need to focus on, being alive past 18 years old, because I didn't think I would be.
Damn.
Then my my whole attitude flipped from, oh, I don't care what people think about me, to, well, now I really, really care about what people think about me. Now I really want them to like me, and I really want to please people, and I really want to fill this child need, this childhood need to be seen and to be heard and to be validated and to be important to people.
Now, just to be fair, I literally didn't come to that viewpoint till the last 6 months.
Wow.
Truly. You know this.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something I sat and thought about for a long time. It just happened one day.
Yeah.
It just did. And I was really, really happy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I was trying to get there. I'm a big believer in the no fucks left to give theory. I just hadn't gotten there yet, but I did. It was nice.
I love that.
And I think I'm inching closer and closer.
Well, yeah, I hope you are. Mm-hmm. I mean, I really do, because I'm not going to say you should be, but I don't know if you should or not. But what I see in you is tons of reasons that you should be moving that direction. Hopefully you're seeing them too. Yeah.
And I think too, like having a partner that sees it, like my partner is always telling me, like, you're always going to bat for other people in a way that self-sacrifices your own well-being. And he's like, that's not fair to you. Like that really, and I can see it impact you. I can see it impact your body and your health.
Good for him.
And just like the way that you carry yourself.
That's a real one right there.
Yeah. He's like, and I see it, and it's impacting not only your life, but it's impacting our relationship.
He's right.
Yeah. And that was kind of like a wake-up call for me, for him to, share that honesty with me. And I really do appreciate it, because
no shit,
it caused me to look at myself and I have to put value over my self-worth and my self-esteem over other people's, because I've been self-sacrificing all of my life. And, it's just been doing me a disservice.
That's a lesson. But the takeaway from that conversation is, this dude, whatever the problem is, he's going to talk to me about it.
Yeah.
That's badass.
Yeah.
That is badass. That's a good word for it.
He's a great one. He's a real one. That's for sure. Like you said.
A real one.
He said, that's a real one.
That's a real one right
there. My ride or die. Let's go. So what about you, Nathan? Same questions.
Well, I think a lot of my self-worth was wrapped up in achieving high in school and achieving just being consistent with my growth and my grades, and just in general as a human being growing up. I have a lot of siblings who do very well in school.
Yeah.
I'm the only, as far as I know, I'm the only one with multiple illnesses, whatever is going on in my brain. And so I constantly felt like I had to compare I constantly felt like I had to compare myself to my siblings, and also just people in general growing up. And so like I'd get. Are
you the youngest?
Really sensitive. I'm the oldest.
Oh, you're the oldest. Okay.
Yeah. I'm really sensitive. So I developed this inner critic. Because I also have a mixture of what you're talking about with my needs not being met and not realizing that's what was happening. And so I'd get a lot of irrational swirling anger
with the first child. That's the practice child.
Yeah. You make your parents parents. Yeah. Yeah. Almost like a little guinea pig. But like the crazy thing is like, I didn't realize like that what was going on with me was a ton of negative self-talk, and a ton of just feelings of inadequacy. And those feelings of inadequacy would discourage me from continuing to try to do what I loved. And I would just get into this place of not feeling good enough. And so I would escape. I spent like, I don't even know how long, just running away until last year. I was running away from my own potential as a human being. Wow. I was scared to try and put something out there to achieve something, because I felt like it was never going to be good enough. And
that's real.
The truth is, though, I was just having a bunch of thoughts that I couldn't identify in my head. And then I went and I learned how that I went to a partial hospitalization program, where I was given resources to identify my own, my own negative self-talk and my own just, what am I trying to say here? I was given resources, ways to analyze myself in a very just practical way that wasn't clouded by emotion.
Yeah.
And that's actually one thing that I want to share with us today, is one of the things that really helped me. It's because I feel like self-esteem is really tied up in how you speak to yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
And
I think
for sure,
it's important too to put into perspective that a lot of times our inner voice comes from those caregivers, comes from our caretakers, like the voice that we have in our head and the things that we tell ourselves, which not everybody has an internal dialogue. Actually, I'd like to mention, but sometimes the things that we tell ourselves and the things that we believe about ourselves, oftentimes they come from our caregivers, which is, or how our caregivers talk to themselves. We see that, we pick up on that, and then it's imprinted in us.
You've probably seen me do this to people at work. If someone comes in and they'll say, I did a terrible whatever, I'm like, no, you're not going to say that to me.
Yeah.
You're not going to talk about yourself like that in front of me, because you just don't want to put that out there. And you say it and your ears hear it. It's like a feedback loop of ugliness.
Yeah.
Feedback loop of ugliness.
There you go. There it is.
That is like my favorite sentence.
Oh shit. So
of this whole episode.
I have this idea that I'm going to write an autobiography sometime about somebody else. And it's going to be called Seemed Like a Good Idea at the Time. But I came up with one yesterday.
Okay.
What?
Ambiguous strategy.
Oh, I like that.
I like that too.
Military term, and I'm like, that's the way I live. Ambiguous strategy. Trying to get somewhere.
What is my strategy? I don't really know.
I think too, like going back to your point about like when you speak it and your ears hear it, I think that's really important too. And like I've gotten really into like spirituality and like manifestations, and that's a big part of like manifesting, is writing down things as if you already have them or as if they already exist in your world. Speaking to yourself as if you are, like you were kind of saying earlier, like speak to yourself as if you were another person or you were somebody that you care about.
Yep.
And I think that's really important. And it's a really good, effective strategy for me personally on my journey, is when I have that thought, stop that thought in the tracks, say, like, name that thought and then reframe that thought, which is hard to do in the moment, especially if you're like anxious or, working through something. But even if it's just in my daily life, like I drop something on the ground, I'm like, oh, stupid. Like I'll do that to myself sometimes. I'll stop myself and say, stop. You're not stupid. Yeah. Accidents happen. It's like I reparent myself in the moment.
That is awesome. One, we're going to negative thought reframing is like what is like going to be y'all's activity from the PDF and below. And that was not even planned. That was not even planned. And I do that too. I'll think about a memory that's uncomfortable, a situation that I look back on, and I'm just like, oh, why did I say that? Oh, why did I do that? And I'll just curse at myself or yell and just be so mean to myself. And I wouldn't even catch myself before. But now I'm just like, you're not look, maybe that wasn't the best decision, but dude, you're still a cool human being who has skills, who wants to help people and shit. There's a lot of great stuff about you. Like, you don't have to be, there's no reason to be so fucking mean to yourself.
Yeah.
Like,
I realize that I've come a long way when I can actually do that, because before I would do something and the fear of God was so instilled in me of make no mistake, be perfect, that like when I was, in high school or even a little bit older than that, when I would do something, like I would drop something or I would get so overwhelmed with emotion that I would cause physical harm to myself. I'd like punch myself in the face, like something like that. Like I would literally, because I would be so full of aggression and emotion and overstimulation that I would have to physically harm myself to get it out. Yeah. So it's just like a testament to, it's possible to not do that anymore.
That's the point. Exactly. That's exactly the point. And you were, you like to fight. you have a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
And you still have things going on, but it doesn't come out like that anymore.
Exactly.
That's because of the work you've done.
Exactly. And it's just like the more that you deal with stuff, the less that stuff is pent up inside of you to where that's your natural reaction that you have to use. Do I have slip up days sometimes? I will admit, yeah, I do. There are days when I still slip up and do that kind of stuff, but they're way far few in between versus where they used to be.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about, is that, you know, it's a process. You're not going to perfectly just stop hurting yourself or stop being mean to yourself. It's a process. It's a daily occurrence. My dad actually told me this. He says, every morning I wake up with a cloud over my head, and the way he helps. And this is actually one reason why we couldn't connect when I was younger. And there was a lot of disconnect and trauma, to be honest. The way he handles things is very aggressively in his own mind. And he doesn't bully himself, so to speak, but he's very persistent about, no, you have to do this, even if you think it's not fun, even if you think it's not like this. And to me, that mentality was just like poisonous. Like I was like being like that's, I mean,
especially as a child. And it was probably very poisonous to him too.
It was. He's had to deal with a lot of stuff. Like I'm saying, my dad is super cool and super nice. Like he's not like a bad person, but it's just because of that, he would try to correct me and get me to, you know, like to try to show me the right way to do things, and he'd do it aggressively and it would cause disconnect. Which I will say, like, that's no excuse for his behavior, him being like that. Like, it's not justifiable at all. That's not what I was saying, by the way. No,
I just want to validate that point.
It is 100. It's 100% valid, but like we talk about it openly, and it's not. You know, it's not like something that either of us doesn't understand. Yeah, you know what I mean.
That's good that you have an open dialogue. That's huge. Yeah.
And that happened pretty recently, and it's one of the reasons why I've had so much development in my own self-esteem, because I'd be so mean to myself because that's kind of how I was taught to be. Mm-hmm. And now I'm realizing like, look, my dad's like aggressive pursuit of goals is very good for him. He's done very well in life. You know what I'm saying? Like everyone has their own way of doing things. But like for me, I needed to realize that just bullying myself or saying you need to do this, even if you think it's not okay, just telling myself that would just make me want to do it even less. You know what I mean? And then it took me, but then I learned to identify my negative thoughts, and then suddenly I could be nicer to myself and get myself to a position where I was actively wanting to do stuff again and not saying, oh, this is going to suck, but I have to do it. It's like, how can I make this fun? You know what I mean? And suddenly I want to do a lot more.
That's very cool.
Like, yeah. So, yeah. That's
so tell us a little bit more about this PDF that is provided.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, I was actually going to read through a list of cognitive distortions.
Those good old CDs.
Yeah, that these things, reading through these was freaking awesome. This is one, and then, because then once you're aware of yourself doing this. Did you bring out the Nerf gun? Okay, we're gonna need a new. We're gonna need a new co-host. Bill,
right here in my kitchen.
Bill. Who are we gonna hire? What are we gonna do?
We're gonna hire Amanda back.
Hold on. Okay, you're gonna do resuscitation here?
Nope.
Okay. No, well, she's bleeding out, dude.
That's fine.
She's good.
Hello.
She's wearing a, what is it? Nerf body armor.
Nerf body armor.
My intrusive thought told me I didn't press the record button, but but we're okay.
Speaking of intrusive thoughts, so there's two lists in the description below. One is shorter, and that's the one I'm gonna read here because everything is just more like one or two sentences. The other goes into depth, so you can go read that if you wish. So, first one, all or nothing thinking. You look at things in absolute black and white categories. Are we all guilty of that?
That's why I raised my hand.
Yeah, I know you are. You raised your hand. What about you?
I used to do that. All or nothing.
Yeah, it's I think that's the kind of thing where it's not good enough. You know, it's bad. It's 100%
Or
bad.
if he's not texting me back, he must be cheating on me.
Yeah.
He has to be with somebody else.
Yeah,
So when you said all or nothing, all I thought was borderline personality disorder. So yeah, in that sense, sure. I did, sure. Yes.
So,
and that's true. And that's not good. I need to work on that. Seems like, fuck. Sorry, but I mean, seriously, that's a bad realization.
Don't be mean to yourself, homie.
No, I'm not being mean to myself. I just said I got to work on it.
Oh, okay.
Just gotta work.
I heard the fuck, and I was a little concerned.
Oh,
but
okay
anyway,
to be mad.
No, it's okay to be mad, just as long as you're not, being.
I do all things through spite, which strengthens me.
My greatest power is I am a wonderful, caring, giving person, but my real power is my spite. That's her.
I will say it is 4:30. So we got to run through these because I got to go.
Okay. 100%. We're going to read these and comment on them, and then we'll end. So
sounds good.
Overgeneralization. You view a negative event as a never-ending pattern of defeat. 100%.
Dang it, I messed up in that email. I'm a piece of crap.
Yeah, that's
kind of what we were just talking about.
No, exactly. That's why I said yeah like that. Just now, next one, mental filter. You dwell on the negatives and ignore the positives.
Oh yeah, I do that.
That's a cycle. What did you call it? The never-ending cycle of, what did you call it?
Oh yeah,
you had like
ugliness.
Ugliness. Yes, the eternal cycle of ugliness or something.
That's what it is.
Discounting the positives. You insist that your accomplishments or positive qualities don't count. It's not good enough.
Because it's what I'm supposed to do.
Like you're not,
Dad.
like you're not giving yourself any qualities. Like you're not doing anything new. You're just meeting the bare minimum. Like you're not doing anything special. Like yeah.
Yep, that's exactly how I feel. Because I mean, I think you probably mirror me on this from what we've discussed in the past. But like,
it happens a lot.
Yeah, like when my upbringing, it was like you got straight A's. Congratulations, that's what you're supposed to do. You don't, you don't get any gold star. You don't get any celebration.
Yes.
They look at it. You're doing what's expected.
Yeah, but exactly.
That didn't bother me.
No?
Well, I mean, I got A's because I got A's, but yeah, my parents expected me to get A's, but they didn't beat me up about it.
Yeah, but it was the thing of like, you got straight A's.
Oh, no, your two experiences are totally different than mine. Yeah. No, totally different.
If you get anything less, if you get like a C or less, all hell is going to break loose.
Yeah, I tore that.
Yeah,
I tore that off in college. We got rid of that. A rule went out the window right quick.
Hey, C's get degrees.
That's right. Yep.
Okay, next one. Oh my God, this next one. Jumping to conclusions. A. Mind reading. There are two variants of this. A, mind reading. You assume that people are reacting negatively to you when there's no definite evidence for this.
I used to do that a lot.
Yeah, you know what I tell people all the time? Nouns and verbs. Nouns and verbs. Stick to the facts. What are the facts?
Yes.
That helps me a lot.
And I also say it's somebody else's responsibility to tell you if they have an issue with you. Do not assume anyone has an issue with you unless they vocalize it with you. Because I grew up in an environment that was extremely passive aggressive, that statement right there saved my freaking life.
Good one.
Because I always assume everybody's angry with me or everybody's mad at me. But until they vocalize that has nothing to freaking do with me.
Good.
And do you have any idea how often how easy it is to assume, like, oh my God, I've had weeks where I message someone and they don't message me back and I'm convinced that they hate me.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, so, and it's a pervasive feeling in the back of my mind. And then we talk again and it's like, I realized that all of that was just imaginary.
People are just busy.
Yeah, people are busy, or they miss your text. Like it'll happen, and it's for people in situations like ours. It can be hard to get away from those negatives.
Yeah.
I get that, but it may be just as shitty for the girl next door who texted her friend a week ago. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what we're saying is like anyone.
Yeah.
Like,
but it's going to have a different nervous system response.
Okay.
For somebody who's
could potentially be,
particularly for somebody who hasn't been listened to or has trauma, that will cause cause.
Yeah, not always. It doesn't always happen. It could feel the same for like two people who haven't been through similar experience, but
it can. I have experience with this causing weeks of mental discomfort, which for somebody who doesn't suffer because of a long exposure to less than ideal conditions, they might be able to get over it a little faster. You know,
I think so too. Like that was me too. Like I would get really,
me too.
I would get really offended when people wouldn't text me back or whatever. Yeah. And then I learned most of my friends have ADHD or struggle with some type of neurodivergence. So I've just stopped taking it personally and realized, hey, it's not me. They'll get back to me when they can. And that's given me a lot of peace in my life.
And dude, and also just working on yourself and being there for yourself.
47 messages. 47
unread.
And 12 missed calls.
Because you know what? I'll get to it when I get to it.
There you go.
I think I have 100.
I have none.
But I don't complain about it, is what I'm saying.
But to be frank, they're mostly automatic emails that just show up in my phone that I don't open.
Oh, these are all girls from Bumble wanting to go out with me or something.
Oh, yeah.
See, I would expect nothing less from someone as charming and wonderful as you.
All right. I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. What's the next one?
Yep.
So it was, and B was fortune telling. You arbitrarily predict that things will turn out badly.
I had a therapist,
which is what we were just talking about.
And he was great. And the only thing I remember him saying to me was, "Hey, I know you're going to predict the future. You've been doing it for a whole year. At least predict it good half the time." That was it. I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, didn't do it.
But it's great advice.
But you know what? But I've thought about it a lot, and it's as effective to guess. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know what I can control, and I can do the best with that.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm still learning how to do that for real.
That's me with my OCD. If I have a pain in my stomach, obviously my gallbladder needs to be removed. Right. Yeah. Obviously, if I have like a pain in the other side, obviously I have colon cancer. Like obviously.
Yeah. And you got shot.
Yeah, I fight that shit every day.
I hear you. Okay.
I mean, you know what? I have friends that I will not talk to about that stuff. But I will shut them down. Mm-hmm. I don't want to hear it. Talk to your friend, blah, blah, whatever.
Yeah.
Because I don't do it anymore.
Good for you.
Now, I give a lot of grace to because, I like it and stuff.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate that.
Me too. When you have, when you can be there for yourself and you can have things to look forward to and fill yourself with like pleasurable ideas and experiences, then you don't have to hurt as much if somebody's not getting back to you or somebody doesn't approve of you. You know what I mean? Because you have yourself and you're not self-abandoning.
There are a lot of issues that go into this, but I can tell you from my experience, one thing that makes all the difference in the world is having something to look forward to.
Yes.
Just like you said.
Yes, it does.
That's it. It can be a football game on Sunday. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what it is. If I can get excited about it and look forward to it, that helps me. Helps me through.
Suddenly you're like,
everything.
You're like, let's get to that.
Now, there are times I can't find something to look forward to.
I'm the opposite, where it's just like, I'll plan something when I'm in like a really good mood, and then that thing will come around and I'll be like, I don't really even want to do that.
Oh shit, Amanda, no, you've misunderstood. No.
No.
And they are things that I look forward to until a certain point, and then I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that anymore.
I get that. Yeah, I do that badly. So I wish
I had that problem because I have problems with actually planning the thing in the future to look forward to.
Yeah, no, my New Year's resolution 2 years ago was not to break plans, so I stopped making plans.
There you go. I make plans to break plans, and now I've been planning something big.
How do I know if I want to have dinner next Thursday?
Okay, next one.
No, I got one more.
Okay, what?
I forgot. Now you made me forget. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. Next one.
Bill has a thought that won't be shared. Just let me know if you remember it. All right. Okay. Magnification or minimization. You blow things way out of proportion, or you shrink their importance inappropriately.
That's me with myself. Yeah.
Is it?
I think so.
The eternal cycle of ugliness, man.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Emotional reasoning. You reason from Hang on. Emotional reasoning. You reason from how you feel. I feel like an idiot, so I must be one, or I don't feel like doing this, so I'll put it off.
Yeah, that's mine.
Yep, all the time.
So I had to write on my, not on my fridge, but on a Post-it note on my fridge, today is not an excuse. Because I would come up with an excuse every day not to do what I needed to do. And finally, I got sick of it.
I like that. Today's not an excuse.
Just not.
I love that. Should statements.
I should myself all the time. I should all over the place.
You should all over the place. We should our pants juiced like all the times. Should statements. You criticize yourself or other people with shoulds or shouldn'ts, must, oughts, have to, similar offense. Just, I should have done this, I should have done that. And you're dwelling on something that didn't happen and finding yourself in a miserable place because it didn't, you know?
Facts.
Like, and look, I think it's very normal because when you realize something, it's very human to like realize, you know, I could have done this better, right?
Yeah.
And
Hey, yeah, you better have those thoughts. No,
yeah,
I don't
like,
want you to heard about it,
because that can help, but then you have to orient it towards the future and be like, so how can I get better at this?
Yeah, not like, the past. Going forward, how is this going to work out?
We got 2 more.
Okay.
Labeling. You identify with your shortcomings. Instead of saying I made a mistake, you tell yourself I'm a jerk, I'm a fool, I'm a loser. We talked about that already.
Yeah, that's a big one.
We just giving yourself the riot act, like basically, like it can be disastrous. And the last one, personalization and blame. You blame yourself for something you weren't entirely responsible for. Woo! Or you blame other people and overlook ways that your own attitudes and behaviors might contribute to a problem.
Wow. Yeah,
I'm sure I do that. But I may do that unintentionally, you know?
I mean, a lot of times it can be, yeah.
I can't see myself the way you guys do. I just can't.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, it's not, you know, and I think it might be something you'll be able to do eventually.
What's that?
See yourself in a clearer light.
No, I don't think anybody can. We all see ourselves inside our box. We all need people outside to tell us what's going on. I mean, that's
what I'm talking about is you need perspective on yourself. Yeah. That's not just, you know, your own self-talk.
And every day you learn a little more.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Every day.
Every day is so wonderful.
Yeah, this day has been wonderful because I've enjoyed this so much, guys.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is a good one. Yeah. Good first episode.
Yep.
Heck yeah. I'm just, and to all
buzzing, absolutely buzzing.
Buzzing.
Been watching too much Love Island. I swear to God, if you shoot me again at point blank range,
are you going to shoot the audience? Don't shoot the audience.
That's the man his phone.
I just got that. Please don't shoot. Well, I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, I just wanted to say, there's another worksheet for you guys down there that's going to give you, it's going to ask you some questions about your negative self-talk.
Worksheet.
I love you guys. There's going to be a lot of information down there about your negative self-talk. Billiam.
He's going to assassinate the penguin.
Is that penguin actually a demon? Or is that why you're?
I think so.
No? Okay. Because he's very
Wait, I have
cute.
something to say.
He's very cute. Nicely done.
And I'm out.
Bye. Good job, Amanda.
Oh my God, dude.
Well done.
One of these days we're gonna have a burp compilation.
No!
So so the thing is that worksheet is gonna run you through some questions based on look at that. It's gonna run you through some questions that are gonna help you challenge your negative thoughts. All right. I'm all right. Until next time, I'm Nathan.
Bill. Bye.
Anna.
And we are In Our Issues. We are the In Our Issues crew. And that includes you. And we'll see you in the next episode. Peace. Oh, dude, you did it. That was a nice shot.
All right. Here you go.
Good job.
That's a wrap on episode 1 of In Our Issues. Thanks for sticking with us to the end. I'm honestly really proud of how this turned out. We had the idea for this podcast years ago, and it's finally coming to fruition. It's satisfying. Now that you know what to expect from us, I'm pleased to inform you that we are going to be posting episodes bi-weekly every other Wednesday. The next one is going to be all about boundaries. how to set them, how to keep them healthy, and how to avoid making them unhealthy. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow, hit the bell, do the thing, whatever platform you're on, to follow us and get that notification when our next episode comes out. Our equipment was funded by the Recovery Center of Hamilton County, which will be getting a new name in the near future. If you're interested in connecting with more neurodivergent people and might take a fancy to support groups for mental illness and free creative workshops and classes, check out recoverycenterhc.org. Podcast production work by me. Original music composed and recorded also by me. I'm Nathan Donnelly, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Don't forget you're awesome. Peace.